The year is 23 AD, and the Roman Empire is riding high, stretching from the fog of the Rhine all the way down to the sands of Africa. And the whole thing rests on the shoulders of guys like our Marcus, a plain foot soldier. Today, we live one day in his boots and answer the question that actually matters. How much did he earn? What could he afford? And honestly, did he have it better than you do right now? Marcus is the son of a broke farmer. He signed up at 18, and let's be real, the options weren't great. Break your back on somebody else's land, or lace up the caligae and go be a legionary. The contract ran 20 years. 20. Later, they'd stretch it out to 26. Basically, you handed your whole youth over to Rome. So what does that get you? A legionary's pay was 900 sesterces a year. That's 225 silver denarii, handed to him in 3 chunks across the year. Sounds like decent money, right? Yeah, that's the thing. It only sounds like it. Stick around and you'll see why. Quick crash course on Roman money, because it'll come in handy. The smallest coin is the as, basically a copper penny. 4 asses make 1 sesterce. 4 sesterces make 1 silver denarius, and 100 sesterces make a gold aureus. Marcus earns roughly 10 asses a day. Hang on to that number, it's the one that counts. Now here's the catch. Marcus barely ever touches that money. The army docks his pay for everything under the sun. Food, barley for the mule, boots, his tunic, his weapons, a fee for the burial fund. The historian Tacitus wrote down the soldier's actual complaint, word for word. 10 asses a day, that's what our lives are worth. And out of that, you buy your clothes, your weapons, your tent, and still bribe the centurion to leave you alone. We actually have a real Roman soldier's payslip. Want to know what he had left in hand after they subtracted food, barley, boots, and his tunic? 0. A flat 0. Your employer literally billed you for your own boots. On average, a soldier saw maybe a third of his wage, and sometimes just scraps. And the soldiers didn't just swallow it. 9 years before this, back in 14 AD, the legions rose up. They wanted a denarius a day and discharge after 16 years instead of 20. The mutiny got crushed. Hard. Marcus remembers every bit of it, which is exactly why he keeps his mouth shut. Okay, so what's that in modern money? Converting by the weight of the silver is pointless. You'd get laughable pennies. The fairer way is to convert by labor, matching a day's work back then to a day's work now. Do that, and Marcus's wage lands around $1,800 a month. That's a solid working man's paycheck, except, like we said, almost none of it reached his hand. The army held the rest back, but in return it fed him, patched him up, and gave him a roof for free. But here's the funny part. The little everyday stuff was dirt cheap. A loaf of bread, 2 asses. A cup of wine, 1 ass. And a trip to the baths, a quarter of an ass, the smallest coin Rome had. Getting clean was the one luxury that was open to literally everybody. Wine especially was almost free. For a single day's pay, Marcus could buy about 5 liters of the stuff. Compared to his wage, that's cheaper than wine is for us today. So in that one weird little way, a Roman soldier actually lived richer than you. Taverns even had price lists on the wall. Here's a real one, scratched into a wall in Pompeii. For 1, as you drink wine. For 2, the good stuff. For 4, Falernian. Falernian was the Chateau Lafite of ancient Rome, the wine of aristocrats. For a legionary, that was a dream you saved for one big holiday, while we're tallying up the spending. In the Pompeii Lupanar, the brothel, a visit cost 2 asses, exactly the same as a loaf of bread. Graffiti on the walls priced real human beings like a line on a bar tab. This was an age with no illusions and no sentiment whatsoever. So what did Marcus actually eat? No feasts, forget that. A handful of wheat that he'd grind down himself in the evening into a thick porridge called pulse, a hard biscuit to gnaw on, and to wash it down, posca, watered down sour vinegar. A modius of grain, about 6.5 kilos, ran you 8 sesterces. Meat? Only if he got lucky hunting, or after a win. Now here's where it flips. The expensive stuff was brutal. A plain tunic cost 15 sesterces, call it $400 in our money. That's 6 days of work. A whole week of hard labor for one shirt. Picture a basic t-shirt costing you a week's pay. That's exactly how it felt. And the armor and sword? Marcus never even knew what they cost. The army handed you your gear, then quietly clawed the price back out of your pay for years. That kit stayed a debt hanging over you. A full set of armor was months of labor you'd hand over without ever holding a single coin. Fancy owning a slave? An ordinary one ran about 2,000 sesterces, more than 2 years of Marcus's pay. In our money, roughly $50,000. Like buying a brand new car, except it's a living, breathing human being. A small fortune for one extra pair of hands. That's the real scale of ancient slavery. A horse? Also about 2 years of pay. An ox, roughly 8 months. And renting a cheap little flat in Rome cost 2,000 sesterces a year, more than Marcus earned in 2 years. That's exactly why the legions bunked in barracks, while the city's poor crammed 10 to a single room. So, did he live better than you, or worse? Here's the paradox. Wine, the baths, a bit of fun, all cheaper than they are for us. On the small stuff, Marcus was richer than you, but everything big, a home, a horse, a slave, cost years of labor and stayed way out of reach. The little things came easy. The big dreams stayed far off. Take your pick which matters more. And what did those few coins actually buy him? Hell, basically. 4 months of drills turned a farm boy into a machine. Marcus learned to march 35 kilometers in 5 hours with 30 kilos strapped to his back, about the weight of a small fridge. Shield, 2 javelins, armor, rations, a spade, and stakes. They even had a nickname for him. Marius's mule. And every single night, after a march like that, the legion didn't just drop and sleep. It built. A ditch, an earthen rampart, a wooden palisade, neat rows of tents, a whole fortified camp, from scratch, every night. The enemy was still rubbing his eyes at dawn, and there was already a fortress sitting right next door. That, right there, is discipline. And Marcus didn't sleep alone. 8 men, 1 leather tent, 1 mule between them. That's the contubernium. Those 7 guys were his family for 20 years. In battle, he didn't fight for some distant emperor or for money he never saw. He fought for those 7. On plenty of soldiers' gravestones, they just carved one word: brother. And honestly, it wasn't all misery. Legionaries had army doctors, field hospitals, clean, checked water and food. Meanwhile, the ordinary civilian pauper broke his back 14 hours a day in the muck and dropped dead from the first disease that came through. Sometimes being a soldier was just plain safer than being broke. Off duty, it was gambling, and things got heated. Bone dice, heads or ships with a flipped coin, and tabula, the granddad of backgammon, where whole fortunes changed hands. They actually outlawed the games, but come on, who listened? A couple of asses a throw and off it went, right down to the last copper. And then comes the thing they forged him for: battle. A wall of red shields locked tight, the tortoise formation, and that short stabbing gladius that punches out from behind the shield at point-blank range. One rule mattered above all: discipline beats fury. Hold the line, and you win. Rome didn't conquer half the world on heroics. It did it in formation. Between the glory, though, the daily grind was ugly. Shared latrines where one sponge on a stick made the rounds, passed man to man in place of toilet paper. Baths every single day, sure, and disease still tore through the camps worse than any enemy. Romantic ancient Rome, isn't it? So what were his actual odds? On average, only about 1 in 2 or 3 made it to the pension. On a hot front, a legion could lose half its men in a single day. And let me kill a myth here. The idea that everyone in the ancient world dropped dead at 30 is nonsense. Child mortality wrecks the average. Survive childhood and survive your service, and you'd very likely live to see gray hair. Get wounded in the fight, and here Rome had no equal. A wound was treated by a proper military surgeon, and army medicine was centuries ahead of anything a civilian could get. They pulled arrowheads out with a clever tool called the spoon of Diocles, washed the wound with wine or sour vinegar, stitched it, and bound it tight. They'd noticed a clean wound heals better, so they guarded cleanliness fiercely, even though nobody back then really understood infection. A field hospital, checked water, fresh dressings, everything a poor man in the city could only dream about. Morning in the castra started before dawn. The buccina, the army trumpet, blasted at first light, and the whole camp jolted awake at once. Roll call. The day's password from the tribune. Duty rosters. Who's on guard? Who's scrubbing latrines? Who's in the kitchen grinding grain? Show up late to formation and the centurion's already walking toward you with his vine stick. Marcus's day was scheduled tighter than any modern office job, just without weekends and with a beating for showing up late. And discipline in the legion had zero sentiment. Small screw-up? A flogging with the centurion's vine stick. Sleep on watch or show cowardice, and they could execute you. But for a whole unit that mutinied came the worst punishment of all, decimation. They drew lots. The guilty cohort lines up, and every 10th man pulls the short straw and dies at the hands of the 9 beside him. By Marcus's time, they almost never used it, but the sheer horror of that math, 1 in 10, was enough to keep the ranks in line. But Marcus had one thing worth more than money: the eagle of the legion, the silver aquila on its pole. To a soldier, the eagle was sacred, a living god, and the souls of all his brothers lived inside it. Lose it in battle, and the shame ran so deep the whole legion could be disbanded, erased from history. Men died for it without a second thought. Beside it, they carried the emperor's image and the standards of the maniples, and Marcus bowed to them the way we today bow to absolutely nothing, and not a single step without the will of the gods. Before anything serious, an augur read the omens. They'd let out the sacred chickens and watch how they pecked at the grain. Dove in hungry? The gods are with us. Turned away? Call off the march. There's a story about an admiral who, before a sea battle, tossed his chickens overboard with the line, "They won't eat, so let them drink." He lost the battle. After that, nobody joked about the birds. Lightning on the left, a sneeze in the ranks, a stumble on the threshold. To Marcus, these were signs, and he took every one of them dead seriously. So where did the few coins that actually reached him go? Not under the mattress, that's for sure. The army forced every soldier to stash half his pay in the regimental fund, the depositum, and the standard bearer kept it right by the legion's banner. No place was more sacred. Nobody would dare steal from it. That's how Marcus built up a nest egg for discharge day, and now and then a new emperor handed out a donative, a bonus for loyalty. In Augustus's will, every legionary got 300 sesterces in one shot, about a third of a year's pay, roughly $7,000 or $8,000 dropped in your lap. And here's the thing that made it all worth swallowing. Serve out your 20 to 25 years and you collect your discharge bonus, 12,000 sesterces in a single payout. That's about 13 years of salary, roughly $300,000 in one sack. Or, if you preferred, a plot of land, a genuine fortune to see out your old age in peace. Assuming, of course, you lived that long. So there it is, the whole day of Marcus the Legionary. Pennies in hand, but cheap wine and a bath for a copper. Brotherhood for 20 years, but 1 in 2 odds of ever reaching that pension. Did he live better than you, or worse? Do the math yourself and drop it in the comments. Hit like if you'd last even one day in his Caligay, and stick around. There are plenty more lives from other eras coming, so subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.